Hello everybody and welcome to gorgeous Moab, Utah. Now of course we're here to go off-roading, but no, we're not in a Jeep. Today we're hitting the trails in this thing. This is the brand new 2020 Kawasaki Teryx KRX 1000, and it is the first ever sports side-by-side to come from the brand. This thing has been in development for 5 years, so needless to say, expectations are high. So in this video, we're gonna go out there, find some whoops, and hit them full blast to see how the suspension does. We're gonna tackle Wipeout Hill, a near vertical rock climb to see how this thing can climb, and then at the end, I'll let you know if the Kawasaki KRX is any good. What are we waiting for? Let's do it. I've got to tell you some things about this machine, and Kawasaki really has put a lot of thoughtful touches on this KRX. First of all, the bed back here, nice and big, 4 D-rings in the corners, and it's good for 350 pounds, so you can haul some serious cargo back there. Now moving up, you cannot help but notice the 31-inch Maxxis Carnivore tires. These things are massive, but what's even cooler than the tires, 15-inch beadlock wheels right from the factory, and these are true beadlocks, so you can really air these things down if you need to. Now, of course, right behind the tire, you got the suspension. So out back here, this is a 4-link trailing arm, 21 inches of travel, Fox shocks right there, with a whole bunch of different preload settings, so you can really set this thing up exactly how you want it. That's an air intake. There's one on this side, one on the other side, one for the engine, one for the CVT. It's nice that they're so high up there. Now moving forward, a nice set of half doors. And once again, these come straight from the factory like this. It's always nice to get features like half doors. You don't have to go to the accessories catalog. You buy this machine, you're getting those doors. Now, of course, another 31-inch Maxxis right there. Up front, we have a dual A-arm setup on the suspension with 19 inches of travel, which is pretty mega. And then the last thing you're gonna see up front here is just the way it looks. And one thing that really sets it off are these LED accent lights. And you know what, guys, if you're a sports side-by-side today, you have to look pissed off. And I absolutely think Kawasaki nailed the styling. This KRX looks angry.
All right, guys, here we are on the trail in Moab. And now we can really open her up, so let's do it. Now coming through the whoops, all of that suspension travel is just so noticeable, and it really does an exceptional job of swallowing them up. I got it in 4-wheel drive right now, and coming through these corners, it feels incredibly planted. Now part of that is the 99-inch wheelbase. Such a long wheelbase really helps with the front to back, but part of it just seems to be the 4-wheel drive system. When you nail the throttle, and I'm in this sand here, rather than the back end stepping out, the front end just really hooks up and takes off, and it just really inspires confidence when you're in 4-wheel drive. Now let me talk to you about the steering a little bit. So here we're in a slower speed section, and what's nice about the steering is that it is speed sensitive electronic power steering. So here at slow speeds, it's quite light and very easy to turn this thing, even when you're coming over the rocks like this, and that is awesome. Now sort of the downside of it, in my opinion anyway, is once you're at speed, it stays this light. I personally wish it had just a little bit more meat to it, a little bit more feedback once you're out there really moving. But again, this is the trade-off, because for the slow speed stuff, you do not want that heavy wheel. You don't want to be fighting with it. And you know what? The power steering here does a great job when you're just crawling over the rocks. Another thing which is great at slow speeds, and at high speeds as well, frankly, is the sight line to my driver's side front wheel. I have a clear sight line down to that wheel, and when you are picking your way through the rocks, you really need to be able to pick your line. It's incredibly helpful to be able to see exactly where that wheel is and then place it right where you want it. Now there's another setting here that really helps in slow speed situations as well, and that is the low power mode. So basically low power mode just really takes away all of your aggressive throttle inputs. So when you're in low power, you can even be stabbing at the throttle and this thing will not jump away on you. It just stays really smooth and allows you to be incredibly precise with the throttle pedal. Now, to put it into low power mode, you just simply flip a switch here on your dashboard, but there is a catch. you do have to slow down to, you know, about 1 or 2 miles per hour. You have to be going very slow for it to pop in. And then on the flip side of that, you got to be going very slow for it to pop back out as well, back into high power mode. Now going into low, that's fine. Coming back into high power mode, it'd be nice just to hit that switch and go. But Kawasaki figures you got to come to a stop to make that change.
I want to go through the interior of this KRX with you. So first of all, these half doors right here are standard. They come on every single model, and you do get 2 handles. You get an exterior handle there, and you get an interior handle up front. They open fairly wide, not quite to 90, but that's okay because this bar down here is so low and this bar is so far pushed back that getting in and out of this thing really is easy. Now, these seats, they're interesting because here in the middle and then over here on the sides, it's almost like a grippy material, almost really grabs onto you. The bolstering here is pretty nice. It does hold on to you pretty good, and you can see here, this seat is really spongy, really comfortable. And maybe the absolute best feature of the seats is that they are adjustable, and you can push these things forward and back almost 6 inches, which is pretty amazing. And especially for a guy as tall and big as me, it's really nice to have that adjustability in the seat. So you also get it in the steering wheel, and I can show you that back here. Now this is pretty standard. You get a tilt steering wheel, but you may have noticed the screen actually tilts with the wheel. Another smart feature so that whatever angle you set it on, you're going to be able to have a clear line of sight right into your screen. Now, beyond that, the interior here is fairly simple. You're only getting 2 switches down there on the dash. You got your 4-wheel drive knob, and then you got your low power switch. Over here on the left, you got your lights and your high beams. Now let's look at all the storage here. So here in the center, you do get a nice cubby up top. It's not very deep, but still nice. Probably for a cell phone would be great in there. You get this big cubby up top here, which is nice. And if you do get different aftermarket radio systems, they will fit right into this space. Down below, you get a couple of cup holders. You also get a couple of cup holders back there behind you, which are kind of nice for storing drinks for later on in the day. Now over here on the passenger side, you of course get your grab handle, which is fairly tight. There's a little bit of jank in the handle, but for the most part, it is pretty tight. And then the glove box here is quite large. You can see it's stuffed with my camera gear, but I can fit basically my whole hand past the wrist in there, so it is a pretty big glove box. And then there's actually another neat little storage area, and that's just straight up behind the seats back here. I've actually been stuffing my camera bag in back there, and it works quite well. Now there's another thing I want to show you behind the seats here, and it's this panel right here. You can pop it off with these 2 quick clips, so when you need to go in and change your air filter, that's really simple access to get in there. We're just taking a little break from riding right now, guys, and I just want to show you just one of the many reasons why you have to come to Moab. Check this out. That is what they call the uranium arch, and there's so many just beautiful arches and rock formations out here. It's honestly one of the most gorgeous places you can come and ride, because besides the fact that the trails are amazing, there's just so much unbelievable scenery in this area. So if you're an off-roader, even if you're not, if you're into mountain biking or into hiking or just into getting outside, you definitely have to put Moab, Utah on your bucket list. Honestly, look at this thing.
There is one thing here, though, I can't decide on, so I'll ask you guys. Go in the comments, let me know what you think. This accessory roof, it has a sunroof. Essentially, it just has a clear section in the middle to let the sunlight in and allow you to see through. Now, it is still shaded, it's tinted, so it's not the full power of the sun. And here in Moab, it's been really cool because I can look up through it and see some of the beautiful scenery, whereas the downside is that you're still letting the sun through, which is kind of the point of buying a roof in the first place. So, like I said, I'm kind of torn on this roof. I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. All right, now it's time to feel the power on this KRX, so let's nail it. All right, so off the line, it feels pretty good. Not quite the little hit of low-end power that I like. Very typical of a CVT, though, where the CVT really feels like it kind of winds out and then your speed catches up to it. Now there is one other interesting thing on this powertrain, though, is there is a centrifugal clutch that comes before the CVT. Now that is supposed to basically make this machine ultra smooth, and it works exceptionally well. There's no harsh engagement of the belt. That centrifugal clutch just smooths out the power delivery, and smooth is actually a great word for this KRX in general. The ride here with this suspension is just so smooth. So if you are worried about the power here, don't be. There also will be a turbo kit, an official accessory from Kawasaki, and none of the numbers are official yet. No official numbers, but we're looking at about 175 horsepower. And if this thing with 175, I think would be an absolute riot. Now let me mention the noise a little bit. So this is one of my pet peeves with this machine. I find it a little bit noisy, and the engine noise just isn't that appealing. I don't know, it could sound a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more angry. To me, it just sounds a little bit drony. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but after a day of riding, I do find myself wishing that the engine was a bit quieter. But then again, once you open it up and start flying down the trail, you do kind of forget about how it sounds, and it is an incredible amount of fun. And I said this before, I'll say it one more time. The suspension here, I really do think that is the beauty of this machine. That's what sets it apart, in my opinion. If I'm comparing this to a Talon, I think this has got it all day when it comes to suspension. It just swallows up the whoops, and not only does it swallow them, but it just keeps the machine nice and flat and straight. Really minimal work being done at the wheel to keep it flying along. So yeah, the suspension here in the KRX is just exceptional. All right, guys, now we're coming up to what's called Wipeout Hill here on 7 Mile Rim, and it's just an incredibly steep rock fall. And I got her in low gear and in low power mode. And here we go, coming over the top. Wow, and the engine braking does so well. Like, I tapped the brakes right as I got to the top of this thing, but then beyond that, it's pretty much just pure engine braking. And this is incredibly steep, but the machine does such a good job. And listen, the wheelbase, like I mentioned, is long here. It's very pushed out to the corners, but even coming down something like that, we weren't dragging in the middle. So the breakover angle's there, but it's not that crazy, and you can still tackle some gnarly obstacles. So now we're turning around, and we're going back up Wipeout Hill, hopefully with no wipeouts. Got her in low power mode. And this is an incredibly steep climb here. So let's see how she does. Here we go. And a little gas. KRX, man. This thing just eats it up. And with something like this, the wheelbase actually helps that it's a little bit longer, because the front wheels are able to get up and over the top of that cliff and then just really pull you up and over. And let me tell you guys, it's insane how easy that probably looked, but how crazy it felt. And that's a testament to these machines, when they can make something that steep look so simple.
So of course, one of the biggest aspects of this machine has to be the price. And for this KRX, Kawasaki in the United States is asking $20,499. I'll throw up a chart here so you can see all the different prices for this segment. And then of course, for all my Canadians out there, here's the Canadian price. So everyone, this Kawasaki KRX 1000 has certainly been a long time coming, and after riding it today, it's clear that the brand really did its homework. Now, the KRX might be late to the party, but I really believe that it's going to make the competition sit up and take notice. So guys, that's it for this review. Make sure you go below, leave a comment, hit like, hit subscribe, and then come right back here to the channel for the latest news, views, and real-world reviews. See ya.